You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Hey, this is Nika Montfort, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Snob OS Show. We definitely want to thank you for your continued support of our show. Also, to note, for some exclusive content, to also get the show live and early, you can become a Patreon supporter. You can head on over to patreon.com/snoboscast to get all of the details. And with that, we are going to go ahead and jump into this week's show. We are going to kick it off with the Lowdown, where we talk all things Apple. Well, it is finally here. iOS 17.2 was released on Monday in the afternoon, and it is now live. Before we get into it, have you upgraded all of your devices? Because it wasn't just iOS 17. iPad OS got an update. Sonoma got an update. watchOS got an update as well. Did you get everything for you updated and for the Brother Tech household? Because I know that you guys are a Apple household.
For me, yes. I got my phone, my watch, my Mac, and my iPad updated. I can't speak for anything else in the house. The HomePods, they kind of do whatever they do whenever they do it. Same thing for my Apple TVs. They do whatever they do when they want to do it. I really don't be sweating those. But I did get them set up for my watch and my phone and my Mac and my iPad.
Nice. I too got everything updated, but I was a little annoyed. I think we've talked about it before. I have everything set to auto update, and
I don't trust that.
Yeah, it came out Monday afternoon, like I said, at the beginning of the segment, and I checked this morning to make sure that everything was done, because I didn't check yesterday. I just kept kind of going as normal, and nothing was updated. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. But I think the Sonoma was the only thing that was updated, because I think that dropped a little bit before, and I went ahead and updated that. But all of like my handheld devices, nah. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I was so annoyed. But yeah, so it's a bunch of features in iOS 17. I think the big ones, the Journal app, which was highly touted in the announcement when iOS 17 was announced. There are some updates to the weather app, the action button. If you have the iPhone 15 Pro line, they got some enhancements, also some camera enhancements for spatial video, and also contact key verification are a couple of the big ones. We'll put the article that we are referencing in the show notes, because it does list out the release notes for each of the OS updates. But again, it's a lot of stuff. And we're not going to read it here. What we are going to do is take a minute to go through our faves. Do you have any fave features for the new OSs?
So the Journal app, surprisingly, I am not a journal person. I have never been a journal person, but this kind of ties in to the record your voice feature that we talked about last week. I get the impression with all the iCloud stuff with Siri, I get the impression that Apple is figuring out new ways to get users to provide more personal data. That Apple's not necessarily collecting it, but they're trying to figure out how to get people to include more personal data on their devices, so they can eventually roll out their version of AI. So with the Journal app, Like I mentioned, you have to go in and kind of journal your day. You can add pictures, and I kind of done it. I haven't done it every day, but if something comes to mind, or a picture, like for instance, for example, my son had his first basketball game over the weekend, and I find myself, as a proud father would, going back and like replaying the video that I caught of him shooting a jump shot, right? Proud father moment, his first official basketball score, right? So I said, you know what? This would be a good snapshot to capture and like type out my thoughts in the journal app, right? So I was like, all right, let me do something like that. So I personally won't be using it day to day. Here's how my day went. I felt this way in the morning. I felt this way in the afternoon, yada, yada, yada. But I see myself capturing memorable moments, or if there's just something on my mind that's like, oh, this is something I may want to remember later on, I'll use the journal app for that. In addition to that, like I mentioned, keeping it in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, I can see Apple rolling out something along the lines of some AI thing. So let me go ahead right now and just get this information in here, i.e. using the Notes app more to kind of collect stuff, which I kind of already do, but using a reminder. So trying to use more of Apple's built-in native apps, to add my personal data. So when Apple rolls out this AI, whatever they call it, I'll already have a lot of that data collected, right? So right. I'm going to definitely use that more. Another thing that I'll probably end up using, speaking of my son's basketball, I've already kind of peeped that the enhanced PDF autofill. And basically what that does is in a note, in iCloud Drive and documents, anywhere you have a PDF document, the enhanced PDF autofill will give you the ability to add things like stored addresses, stored email addresses, stored phone numbers, to where you can quickly fill out PDF forms. Because my son this weekend, he's got picture day, and they sent out the PDF form. And then as soon as I added it to my notes, I had already updated to 17.2. As soon as I added that PDF form to my notes, it recognized and said, hey, enhanced autofill for PDF will let you enter in your address. So, for whatever reason, the people who do picture day is still paper. So they want you to fill out the form in the little boxes that are kind of tiny and hard to put in individual numbers and letters. Yeah. So I'm definitely see myself using this enhanced PDF autofill to fill out more PDFs to where it looks more official versus me printing it out, filling it out, scanning it back in, and then having to send it. Right. So those are the two that popped up as far as things that I see using more frequently. One of the things I'm bummed about is with something that didn't come in iOS 17.2 is the collaborative playlists in Apple Music. And basically that is, instead of just sharing in a podcast, instead of just sharing a playlist, I can share the ability for us to collaborate. So if I'm
you add something, I said add something.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm tired of being the DJ for my family. If I play something like, we got to hear that again, or we got to, I'm like, you're more than welcome to
take over the playlist function.
Right. But nobody wants to do it. So it's like, all right, bet, to be able to share the playlist with my family, they can add the songs that they like. So when we're all in the car together, I ain't got to think about it. I can connect my phone to the car, hit the playlist, and everybody's happy. So I'm definitely kind of bummed that's not coming until, according to this story in Ars Technica, sometime in 2024. So definitely waiting on that.
But they did do something on the playlist, right? Which is it? Oh, favorite songs playlist.
The favorite songs playlist. And they give you the ability to do, and we tried it, but it's not seamless. The ability to be able to do share play with somebody else to where they can queue up, almost like a DJ type setting, to where if we're in the house, we're having a dinner party or something, and I do share play and share the ability for people to add songs to the queue to where they can put something in, it'll come up next or whatever the case may be. You can do that in iOS 17, but there's couple of hoops you got to jump through. You got to scan the QR code, and you got to be on the same Wi-Fi network, and yada yada yada. Versus this, it's just if I have a playlist, I can share it with you, and at any time you want to, you can add your own songs, and it'll update as you go. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Nice. Did you see anything, I guess so far that you're using and that was just kind of like, meh? It's kind of like, they could have left that out and put something else in.
Probably the action button, surprisingly.
Really?
They say action button upgrades, but all they did was add the ability. What is the ability? I had to look it up. They added something else to the action button. I'm actually
translate option.
Yeah, the translate option. So it's like, I don't plan on, well, maybe later on next year, there may be some plans. I think we're planning a family trip to Mexico. So, but that's like springtime, spring break in 2024. So it's like
you'll have the 17.3 or 17.4 be out by then.
Right. So I definitely see using that, but not in the near future, but it's there. It definitely would have helped when me and my wife went to Colombia, South America, to be able to quickly press the button and automatically translate versus, having to go through and set up the app or whatever the case may be. So I'm kind of bummed that they didn't add more functionality to the action button versus just doing the translate, which again, some people may love it because they're going on vacation in Christmas. So this will be, but for me personally,
right on time.
Yeah. I gotta wait.
Yeah. For me, I think the journal app, and similar to you, I have tons of journals laying around my house, and it's one of those things where sometimes it's like, usually during nostalgic times, like the beginning of the year, I'm going to journal every day, or when you have a birthday, I'm going to journal, and it's just like, nah. But for me, I could really see the use of it. For me, like when I have an idea or something I want to remember or something I want to do, I voice note it. Click on the voice notes, say it, speak it. That gets a bit cumbersome because then you have to label it, or otherwise it'll just be a voice note and you have to scroll through and look for it, that type of thing. So for the journaling app, I think I'll use it more for like my quote unquote ideas book, because when something pops in my mind, I can pop it in there, keep going and go on to the next thing. And it's kind of chronicled in there. I don't have a 15, so the action button. I am a little interested to see, though, with this whole new spatial video, because I think it's going to tie in to the Vision Pro goggles and how that works. Of course, like I said, I don't have an iPhone 15, but I'm interested to see how the spatial video is going to really, feed into what we are expecting to see from the Vision Pro. So that's probably, to me, the most, interesting thing at this point would be, how does this the spatial video kind of work to, what that looks like and what that can give me an idea for on what I can expect from a Vision Pro.
Yeah. Again, the spatial video, we got to wait until the Vision Pro comes out to see what the videos look like, because nothing right now, to my knowledge, if you take a spatial video, you won't get the effect on anything right now.
So you don't.
I didn't think so.
I'm looking at the release notes, and the release notes says spatial video lets you capture video on iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, so you can relive your memories in 3 dimensions on Apple Vision Pro. So it allows you. So right now, what you can do is capture the video, but you won't be able to see the effects of it until the Vision Pro comes out.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And then another note, going back with the journal app, I would have liked the ability to. They give you the ability to lock the journal with your Face ID or your passcode. I would have liked to be able to customize that to where I enter a PIN that's different than my passcode.
Than your passcode.
And not just me personally, just for people. If you've got a family member and they've got access to your phone, you may or may not also want them to have access to your journal entries.
Your innermost thoughts. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So it would have been nice if they would have gave you the ability to add a PIN or change the passcode, to where you can lock that down. Similar to how they do with the Notes app. You can lock a note but you have to either choose Face ID or Touch ID or a different passcode. I would have liked them to use that in the journal as well.
Gotcha. And, speaking of the spatial video, I did see some rumor that Vision Pro could be ready as soon as January. Don't know how true that rumor is, but it's out there, and it kind of would make sense if they're already putting the functionality in the 15 Pro line that is ready for you to see that video within your Vision Pro. So looking forward to that. As far as least favorite, I haven't really played around enough with the iOS to have a least favorite. So it's just like, I guess, it's nothing that really stands out that says, wow, this is something that I need to really get into and to play around with. But I'm surprised that the weather app kind of got some love in this release. I can't remember the last time the weather app has really, been touched so much in an OS release. So that's kind of interesting. I'm trying to see. I'm scanning through some of the other releases. It's very much, I think we've talked about it before, Apple is trying to have their releases and the features pretty much go across all of the products, and just at a scan, it's very similar in nature.
Yeah, they've expanded AirDrop to where you can send and share pictures. You can share contacts, of course, with the the nearby where you put the phones together. Mm-hmm. They've expanded that to where pretty much anything you have saved in your wallet as a pass, whether it be a boarding pass, movie tickets, concert tickets, any of those, you can do the bump to share.
And share it.
Right, versus actually having to, share, manually go into AirDrop or emailing or however you used to do it in the past.
Or texting or whatever, yeah.
Texting, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I scroll down to look at some WatchOS stuff. Mostly related to Series 9 and Ultra 2, which
that just brought up something, but I'll talk about it later in the hookup. So
cool. Okay,
we'll save it for later.
Okay. The other thing, it seems like some minor things. The face settings, workout stuff, a couple things related to workout. So yeah, doesn't seem to be a lot. Other than, I have HomePods. I know Terrence has HomePods. You can view what's playing on the HomePods now automatically on the watch. I may get quite a bit of usage out of because, I start playing and I leave my phone, walk downstairs, go somewhere else, and I want to see what's going on with the AirPods. So yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next up, I think you talked about this before as well. When the new USB-C AirPod Pros dropped, I was like, well, I just want the case. My AirPods are perfectly fine. Well, now Apple allows you to buy just the USB-C case by itself without the actual earbuds, and that will cost you a whopping $99. Mm-hmm. The case is available now. It works only with the second generation buds. But the only thing is, if you're thinking about buying them for a Christmas gift, the delivery dates are currently showing after Christmas. So you will likely have to go into a store to actually pick them up if they have them in stock. But if you want to order them and send them somewhere or order them sent to your house, delivery dates have been pushed back until after Christmas. So,
it would have been nice if they were $79. I mean, extra $20, $30 ain't killing me, but it'd been nice, that $100 mark is like, dang, even though in order to get USB-C, you had to spend a whole $249 prior to now, but I'm still kind of in the air. It's like, I have the second gen AirPods with the lightning port, but the wireless charging does it for me. I've got at my desktop where I'm doing my work, and at my nightstand, both of those are utilize the wireless charging. And that's enough for me. You know, very rarely have I been out and about and my AirPod case battery has died. And I'm like, oh man, let me find a way to plug it up.
Yeah.
You know, even USB-C is like, that's the new thing. And eventually I'll upgrade to it. But right now it's kind of like, do I want to spend $100 for a case with the functionality that I may use one time before the next Generation 3 AirPods Pro come out? I don't know.
And for me, I dropped my AirPod. I washed them in the washing machine. They were in some workout pants. I had like a back zip pocket. And I was able to dry them out, obviously, and continue to use them. But the lightning port does not work. But the magnetic,
the wireless
charging still works. So I was like, I don't use a port anyway.
Right.
So not necessary for me. I'll save that $100 and put it towards something else. But for those of you out there who do want to synchronize, if you have the latest and greatest and you want to synchronize just to have one cable to not have any more lightning ports, you can now get it for $99. It just won't get it until after Christmas.
And there's some added benefits to the USB-C case. Specifically, it's dust resistant and it can handle water better. I'm not saying it's waterproof, but if you get, you're washing your hands and you splash up on the counter and your AirPod case is on the counter, the USB-C version of the case can handle that water a little bit better. So again, you have to decide if that's enough to spend a whole $100. If you are a, what do you call it? A klutz, you're going to be out
like
on the
moi?
beach, right? You're going to be in the beach, or like you said, wash your AirPods. You may want to pick it up, but again, you have to decide if $100 is worth that.
Yeah. And the only thing that saved me for the AirPods was that, of course, I put them in a microfiber towel, but I found, of course, on YouTube, there's an app where there's a certain frequency that you put it through, it shakes all the water loose. And it did. And of course, they work fine, but there was no way to run the app on the case.
Right.
So it was just, solely for the charging, the wireless charging on the back. So I won't be picking this up. And, that's cool. I don't really, don't need it. So we talked about at the top of this segment, iOS 17.2 being released. There's no rest for the wicked. 17.3 beta is already out. And apparently one of the key things in this release that has all of the people talking is that there is a new feature that has been apparently highly requested. I don't know highly requested by who or how they captured that, but this article from iMore says it was highly requested, and it is the stolen device protection feature. And again, it's only currently in iOS 17.3 beta. You have to opt in. It doesn't come on by default. And the full, usage of this is expected to be available in 2024 when iOS 17.3 is released. So what is the stolen device protection? According to Apple's spokesperson, Scott Radcliffe, iPhone data is encrypted. I'll just read what his statement says. iPhone data encryption has long led the industry, and a thief can't access data on a stolen iPhone without knowing the user's passcode. In rare cases where a thief can observe the user's entering the passcode and then steal the device, stolen device protection adds a sophisticated new level of protection. What is that sophisticated new level of protection? In order to access certain parts of your iPhone, it requires your Face ID or Touch ID for authentication. For instance, if you want to check, account balances, anything related to your money, to get access to your iCloud account, and also for Apple Pay, in order for a thief who's stolen your phone to have access to that, they wouldn't be able to use that unless they authenticate through your Touch ID, if you have a phone that has Touch ID on it, or Face ID if you have a phone that has Face ID. So it basically kind of silos your different authentication methods. So yes, you may steal my phone and get my passcode, but you won't be able to get to some key functions with what most people want if they're stealing an iPhone is to get like your Apple Pay or banking information.
Well, even before that, the one thing that they want to try to get first is the ability to change your Apple ID password. Mm-hmm. And with this new authentication feature, you will have to, or turn off Find My Phone, right? That's the other thing.
True.
Being able to quickly change your your Apple ID passcode.
So you can't get in.
So they can then change up to their own Apple ID and then use that to unlock the phone, to unlock everything so they can resell it. Because most people still in iPhones, they want to resell it. In my opinion, they're less likely want to get access to anything else. They just want to be able to get your phone, remove you from your phone, and then resell it. So in order to do that, they need to be able to access your Apple ID, right? So with this new encryption feature, this data verification, iPhone data encryption feature, you've got, like Nika said, you've got to verify through Touch ID or Face ID twice within an hour apart. So, that gives somebody time to, even if they do have your Touch ID or your Face ID through some crazy way, they've got to put it in twice an hour apart. That gives you enough time to spring into action and add some extra layers or wipe your phone so they can't ever access your data, So because, like I mentioned, most people want to be able to change your Apple ID password so they can turn off Find My so they can then resell it. So I think being able to, this function to do that is a definite bonus on top of somebody being able to use your Apple Wallet, because if they do have your passcode, they can go run up some stuff real quick.
They can run up the bill real quick.
Right.
Real quick.
So ability to turn this on, and then they have to authenticate through Face ID or Touch ID, not just your passcode. I think it's pretty dope.
And not just once, but twice. I think adding that extra piece of having to do it 2 different times within a specific time frame, which allows the actual owner time to get to maybe someone else's phone or get to a laptop or an iPad to log in and, change some things around so they can't use it. So, yeah. Again, as I mentioned, it is currently a part of the iOS 17.3 beta that just came out. And the full launch is expected when iOS 17.3 comes out in 2024. And I presume maybe spring, I'm guessing, since 17.2 just came out. But I think this is, you got to be crafty to get around thieves. So this is one of the ways that Apple is helping its users be a little crafty to get around thieves. Okay, the last thing that we have in the lowdown this week, Apple. I think we remember it with the spree killing in San Bernardino, which seemed so far away, so long ago, which it wasn't. When Apple was when the government, the law enforcement was trying to get access to the phone, and we've always talked about how Apple is very consistent in not giving access to people's data on their phone. Well, currently, push notifications were able to be obtained by police via Apple with a subpoena. But the subpoena doesn't really have any type of judicial oversight. Right. It's basically just the police saying, yes, we need this information because this person's bad. Right. But do you know if this person's bad? I don't know. But now Apple has put into place that you cannot get the push notification data without an actual warrant signed by a judge. And you may be thinking, where did this come from? Why did they all of a sudden, out of the blue, decide to add this new level of protection? Well, apparently, this was put into place or announced a few days after U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, I believe that's how you pronounce it, disclosed that both Apple and Google can be, quote, secretly compelled by governments to hand over the contents of push notifications sent to customers' phones. So I don't think he was supposed to probably say that part out loud. And he did. And so Apple is like, wait a minute. You as a governmental agency can force me, a private company, to hand over my customer data. You can be secretly compelled, not outright, with a subpoena or with some sort of injunction or some kind of legal documentation. He's basically saying we, the government, can tell you have to give it to us and there's nothing you can do. This added layer of protection for consumers that Apple has put in place says no. You have to have not only are we not just giving it away to the police anymore, but you need to have a signed warrant by the police in order to get this data from us.
I don't know anything about this Senator Ron Wyden. My speculation, purely speculation, means says that he was not necessarily looking out for his constituents or making sure that Apple and Google are protecting customers' data. My guess is not necessarily CYA, because again I don't know anything about this dude, but my guess he's like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me the government can get access to my stuff without a warrant? Nah. So like you said the quiet part out loud, and then, Apple's like, all right, well, I guess we got to lock it down a little bit more, which ultimately it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because your data is your data, who you message with, because I'm thinking of push notifications. I mean, you get push notifications all the time about stuff you purchase from Amazon, whatever the case may be. But what's also included in push notifications is who you texting, right? Who you texting back and forth. Yeah. And some politicians, high up ranking government officials have been hemmed up based on their text messages. So I think this is Ron. It's like, yeah, we going to nip that in the bud right quick and make sure that you need a warrant in order to get that stuff.
And this senator also said that previously secret practice, meaning giving over the data without having to have any type of legal authority, meant that Apple and Google were prevented from publicly even disclosing the type of government demands. So basically, the government could ask or compel Apple and Google to hand over this information, but Apple and Google couldn't turn around and say, hey, customers, the government is demanding that I give this to you. So it's all shrouded in secrecy. The fact that they can compel Apple and Google to give this information, and two, the fact that they can't tell you that they're
giving over your information.
They were giving your information that was demanded by the government.
Yeah. So I did a quick search, and this Senator Ron Wyden, he is a Democrat from Oregon. It's I was just busting his chops. In reality, I think this goes to a larger issue because I did a quick little search, and I found this additional story. It says U.S. Senator Ron Wyden has warned in a letter to the Justice Department that unidentified governments are spying on Apple and Google phone users through their push notifications. The letter says his office received a tip last year that government agencies in foreign countries were demanding push notification records from the tech giants. Yada, 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 push notifications, Google servers, the tech giants are in a unique position to facilitate government surveillance of how users are using particular apps. And this is Ron Wyden, who sits on the Senate Intelligence Committee. So basically, what this senator is doing is making sure that Google and Apple are protected
hand over
from foreign governments, not just, the police pulling us over or, somebody getting caught up in some scandal type stuff and they don't want to leak their text messages. Foreign governments, foreign agencies are trying to force Apple and Google to hand over this information. So Ron is like, no, we're going to lock this down to where you need a warrant. And in order for a foreign agency to get a warrant to pull records from a U.S. citizen's phone, you're going to need the U.S. government's intervention, which means the governments will less likely do it if they have to then contact the United States government. When before, it was kind of like they were trying to usurp and skip over the United States government and go straight to Apple and Google. Now the government is standing in the middle of that, basically.
So it sounds like Senator Whiting did have altruistic intentions as it relates
I'm a
to
cynic.
this.
I'm a cynic, but I'm going to give him this one because I was ready to say my man got caught up or his kids or somebody he knows got caught up. And he's like, nah, let me go ahead and fix this.
Oh, that's funny. So it's, you know what? I'm pleasantly surprised that is the outcome. It's not the government, not the American government trying to screw over consumers.
Right.
And we have to say that has been very far and few and in between lately when it comes to the government trying to get access to our data. So good on you, and glad that somebody stepped in and said, nah, we're good. And glad that Apple stepped up as well. I'm not sure what Google is doing on this. Mm-hmm. I don't see, it wasn't in this article in TechCrunch. It doesn't have any contribution as it relates to Google. So yeah, we do know what Apple is doing, and that's a good thing. That is going to wrap it up for the Lowdown. We're going to head on over into Second String, where we talk all other tech. So I saw this going around on the Twitters today. Dropbox, which is a cloud storage system where people drop files.
Probably the most popular one.
That people use to drop files on, to store data on, where they can easily access it, in real time, wherever they are in the world, as long as they have access to the internet or access to the app if they have it stored locally on their phone. Well, Dropbox, as Terrence just alluded to, one of the most popular sites of data storage, of personal data storage, gave its users a bit of a scare. There is a new feature, a new AI search feature that is turned on by default from Dropbox. It's called a third-party AI setting. Well, guess who the third party is? It's only one company. That company is OpenAI. So this would lead people to believe that if you have this feature not turned off, which you probably don't because you know it, because it was turned on by default, that OpenAI has access to your data on your Dropbox. So the table was shaking. Everybody was like, oh my God, freaking out. Then Dropbox had to come on and say, hey, the user data that is shared with a third party, AI partners, which they don't name OpenAI in this statement, isn't used to train AI models and is deleted within 30 days. So my thing is, why are they searching it then if they're not using it to train data on? And that's what OpenAI used a lot of it. And then, with this particular thing, because like I said, it was blowing up on Twitter, Dropbox was really trying to calm people down and say, hey, take a look at our data privacy. We promise that your data isn't being shared without your consent, and we are making sure that OpenAI is not using your data to train or to be used in the prompts and in the data that it pulls back. We promise.
If you promise, turn it off by default. Turn it off by default and tell people, hey, we've got this cool feature that enables AI, If you like this feature, if you want it, if you think it's beneficial, go turn it on. Yeah. Why turn it on by default and say, hey, we promise, we assure you, you don't have to worry. No. Turn it off by default and convince people to turn it on. The fact that you have it on by default leads people to believe that you want to try to sneak
Something
this
sketchy
past.
going on.
And maybe not even sketchy. You just don't want it's almost like it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission, right? Mm-hmm. They rather just do it and then just hope that nobody pays attention versus just bringing attention to it in the first place and trust that your customers will support it. It's like, why don't you just do that? I don't understand what, well, I know why these companies are doing it, but it's just, why go through all the effort to try to, calm people down and send all these assurances and all these promises that you as a company cannot guarantee. You can promise, but it ain't no guarantee. The only way you can guarantee my data is not being used for whatever is if it's off by default. Now, if I then in return decide to turn it on, then it's on me, whatever happens ultimately. But the fact that y'all didn't turn it off by default leads me to believe that you knew.
Tell people that it's even there.
Right. Leads me to believe that, you wanted it on because you wanted as much data as possible. And the only way you can get as much data as possible is nobody knows that you're collecting as much data as possible. As soon as some people figure it out, it's like the whole ask, Apple came out with that whole ask app not to track. Mm-hmm. Now that people know or get the option to say, hey, do I want this app tracking me? Most people say no. Right. And Dropbox knew that. It was like, all right, let's go ahead and slide that past right quick, because they know if you give somebody the option to share or not share their data, most people are going to be like, share. No, thank you. No, thank you. And they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. And my thing is, in the article, it's saying that, they won't share it unless you give consent. My question is, how am I supposed to give consent? Am I giving consent by the toggle being on? And if I am giving consent with the toggle being on, you're taking that choice out of my hands because you're defaulting it on. So there is no consent.
Right.
You're making that decision for me. And how this even came to be, even in the knowledge base of the overall populace, is a writer by the name of Winifred Burton shared this information on Blue Sky on Tuesday. After they discovered, that the setting was enabled by default. So this writer is I don't know if they're the first one to notice. The article says they are, but maybe to even understand what this meant, because this is a writer, they do research, and it's like, what's this AI thing? And it's on. And then when they went to look at the actual FAQ for the AI privacy, they saw that deep down, buried in the language, it does say that OpenAI is the partner. Not partners, but a single partner. And I'm looking at one of the FAQ sections, and it says, who are Dropbox's third-party partners with an S for AI? And then below it says, we only use partners whose privacy policies and commitment to our customer rights and safety align with our own. At this time, we've partnered with one third-party partner, OpenAI. So they make it seem as if they have multiple partners, but they only have one. And they say that they only go with people or partner with people that align with them. How do we know that your alignment isn't a little bit off as well? There's a lot of assumption going on here, and it's not good.
And then they say we only use third-party partners we've vetted. What does that vetting process look like? What are the stipulations? What did they have to check off the list in order to be vetted? It's just like, what does that mean? That could have just mean, somebody at this company,
your homeboy,
it works at a OpenAI, and it's like, oh, I know that guy. That's vetting.
We went to college together.
Right.
He good people.
What does that mean? It's just like, why go through all this on the back end when you can just on the front end say, hey, we have released this new feature that enables you to use machine learning with your Dropbox files in order to work faster, work smarter, more productivity, whatever the case may be. Please go and turn this feature on so you can get these features. It's like, why turn the features on and be like, hey, Just relax, relax. No, nobody likes to be told to relax.
Right. Nobody does. That makes people tease even more.
Right.
And again, back to my original question, we know what OpenAI does. If they aren't training their models on this,
there's no benefit to them.
What are they actually doing with the data that they scrape from Dropbox? What are they doing with it?
Well, I was going to say there's no benefit from them to get the data if they can't train their technology.
Exactly.
It's like, why would I do that?
What's the point? So that's why in my mind it's like, y'all lying.
They just
and you got caught. You got caught sooner than you expected.
Yep.
But they probably had a contingency plan to say when somebody does find out, because they ultimately will. We can just say, oopsies, we promise. But by this time, I'm not sure how long this feature has even been out there. None of the articles that I've read have said that. So at this point, OpenAI could have all of our stuff.
Well, I think
what are we going to do about it?
Well, I think the way I quickly cursory went through to Dropbox, and basically what they're saying is, if you're as a user, if you are using Dropbox and you decide to use the AI features within Dropbox, say for instance, I've got a document in Dropbox and I want to use AI to summarize this document in one paragraph, for example, right? That is when and only when Dropbox will share that document with whatever AI partners that they've vetted, air quotes, to then provide that information. If you never do it again after 30 days, they're going to delete that data and they're not going to use that data to train their AI, which again, who knows, right?
Right.
That's Dropbox's kind of standpoint, is like, well, we're not just going to, just because you have a Dropbox account, we're not giving all your files, all your documents over to these AI partners. We're only going to share that information based on how you decide to use AI within Dropbox.
Right.
Well, why don't you just tell me that up front and let me go turn it on? Why turn it on and then me unknowingly have given access to my data, whether I use it or not? Because when the feature is on, that means somebody could share my information, whether I use it or not. And the only way I can prevent people from even having access to it at all is to turn it off. Well, just let me go turn it on and then decide if I want to share, if I want to use AI within Dropbox.
Right. So all that being said, there is a quick way to disable this function, essentially to toggle it off. You have to go log into Dropbox, go to your account and settings, go to third-party AI and turn the toggle off. What's also important to note, you need to do this on a web browser. You cannot do it from the Dropbox app. You have to be on a web browser to do so. So I just tried it on my iPad and it does allow me to log in on my iPad to do this. I'm doing it real time.
Yeah, I did it already real quick. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
While you do it, this goes back to your thought that Dropbox is removing the ability for me to permit or to give access to my data. And I was just reading this FAQ on this AI thing. And the question is, when is my content shared with third-party AI partners? The first one says, if you or your team is participating in the Dropbox AI alpha. Well, if it's turned on by default, we're all participating. So there's no if. There's no if to it. We're participating unless I turn it off.
Right. So it's one of those things where, you are definitely in it unless you opt out of it. And I'm actually on the web browser and I am in my account. I am in settings, but I do not see.
It was there for me. I went to my profile, I went to settings, and then there's a tab at the end called third party AI. You click that third party AI and then use artificial intelligence from third party partners so you can work fast in Dropbox, yada, yada, yada. I had to go in and actually turn that off because it was on by default.
So the question is, did you do this on your desktop?
Mm-hmm. On the
And
desktop.
so I'm on my iPad. And on my iPad, I don't see it.
Maybe because Dropbox is treating your iPad as a mobile browser versus a desktop browser.
And looking at the article, it does say that to turn this off, it does have to be on a desktop web browser. So you can't do it from the app. You can't do it from your phone. You can't do it from your tablet. You actually have to go to a desktop browser to turn this off. So that is an additional layer of work that you have to do, because a lot of times people do everything from their phone or, even for their iPad. People don't really lug, computers around. Everybody's kind of mobile and moving about.
Listen, if I use Dropbox from my phone, I should be able to turn off this feature on my phone. Why do I have to go to the desktop? I use Dropbox on my phone, so I should be able to go into the settings on my phone and turn it off.
Yep. And like I said, looking at this article, we'll put it in the show notes. It does say log into your Dropbox account on a desktop web browser. So no mobile web browser and no mobile app. Yeah. So keep that in mind as you continue to use Dropbox. You may have to keep a little bit closer eye on some things because if they're trying to kind of sneak this thing in, my thought always goes to what else are you trying to sneak past me as it relates to the access to my data? Because we've said many times on this show, data is the real currency now. That is going to wrap it up for Second String. We're going to head on over to For the Culture, where we talk socially relevant things, what's going on Twitter, what's going on in society, and pretty much, honestly, just anything we want to talk about. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's serious. And today it is on a more serious note. I don't know. I think it's some rapper that kind of really made this popular. This is how I became aware of, what's it called? The, Pooh Shiesty, because I do have a nephew.
Never heard of him.
he's a Gen Z rapper that all the kids used to love or love. I think he's in prison right now for something really bad. But his MO was wearing like the old school ski mask that you used to see back in the day when people rob people, or if you're thinking on the non-criminal tip, skiers, ski masks. When they're out on the slopes, they have the goggles on, they have the thing that's over the head, over the mouth, and goes down the neck to protect them from the cold. Well, some states and cities have decided that they want to ban ski masks. In addition to here in Atlanta, they want to ban hoodies as well. This really all kicked off in Philly. The city council in Philadelphia passed a bill this past Thursday that says that they are banning the use of ski masks in certain areas. They aren't outright banning ski masks. It's only in certain areas that they are banning ski masks. This article from Forbes also indicates that this is the first restriction of its kind, even though there are about 10 other states that have mask mandates. Those other states include Georgia, Virginia, Florida, North Carolina, West Virginia. Are you seeing a little bit of a trend here? Massachusetts, Ohio, Michigan, California, and North Dakota, including Alabama. So in Philly, they've decided they're waiting on the approval from the mayor to sign it, that will ban the use of ski masks, also called balaclavas.
Baklavas. That's a
dessert.
Chocolate. Yeah, that ain't it.
That's a Greek dessert. It can't be baklavas.
That's what it looks like.
Even that's what it looks like, but baklava is a Greek dessert and it's delicious. But it's banned on public transportation, in schools, in daycares, in parks, city-owned buildings, and recreational centers. Now, if you remember back at the peak of the pandemic, when we were all encouraged to mask up, they told everybody to wear a mask. Some people use the ski mask as a method of covering their nose and mouth at the height of the pandemic. Now, they're saying you can't wear them, and you can't wear them in certain places. Now, again, I did mention that other states have mask mandates. They are a little bit different than this basically all-out ban. In some places, it's, if you're wearing it in the commission of a crime, if it's in a costume, if you're doing it to hide from the police, those type of things. Even so much as in Alabama, it's considered loitering if you wear a mask and you're congregated in a public place, unless for medical reasons. But in this, the thing with the Philly situation is it's an all-out ban on those 5 or so specific places. As it relates to Atlanta was going to, Atlanta City proposed to ban the ski masks and hoodies. So you can't wear a hoodie now. Fortunately for Atlanta, that proposal went nowhere. They shelved it because people were on their butts about it. But I bring this all up to mention the fact that one of the biggest critiques and criticisms from folks is that this is going to lead to racial profiling. And my thing, specifically when it comes to the hoodie portion of this, who do you think they're going to stop if someone has on a hoodie? Because most people, especially this time of the year, have hoods on their coats, hoods on their sweatshirts, hoods on long sleeve tees. It really opens it up, like I said, for racial profiling. And in the case of Philly, they've limited to specific areas where, let's be honest, a lot of Black people are, and Philadelphia has a very large minority population. So I bring this all up to say that before, it's like, yes, you must mask, you must cover. It's necessary, you have to. Now, they're going to ban them.
Right. So in the story that we are putting in the notes in Forbes, it does mention that the casual use of ski masks in the city, Philadelphia, increased in 2020 during the COVID pandemic because, like Nika mentioned, they were encouraging people to mask up. And way some people in Philadelphia, where it gets cold in the winter, is they would use a ski mask to a twofer, keep your face warm and cover up during the pandemic. But it also coincided with an uptick in crimes committed by people wearing them, according to the bill, which is kind of obvious because if I was going to do the crime, I was going to do the crime anyway. But right. I just put the ski mask on because I also don't want to get COVID while I'm committing a crime. So you can't necessarily...
And I likely have it anyway because of COVID and because of cold.
Right. So you can't, it's a stretch.
It's not apple to apple.
Right. My thing is with this whole thing is it's going to give police another reason to profile, whether they're Black or white or not. If the police decide they want to interrogate you, pull you over, this will give them an excuse to do so.
The probable cause.
They may not even care whether you have a ski mask or not. They just decide, I want to pull you over. And this just gives them another legal reason to do so. They could, like I said, you could just be minding your own business. They see you. You may not even have the ski mask all the way down. You could just have it on your head.
And it's just pulled up.
And the police can legally say, we pulled you over because do you know ski masks are illegal? And then they use that pressure like they always do. What else you got on you? Smells like weed in here.
Let me pat you down.
Where you going? Where you coming from? Who's your ID? Where all these other things that police use to kind of put you in a box. Tactics. To where you have no other options. You
Recourse.
think you have no other options but to comply. This just adds more ammunition for them to do so. And I would hope they would tread lightly with this, because I get it. You know, when people do crimes, they want to conceal and cover their face. Again, ski masks are nothing new. They wasn't created during the pandemic. They wasn't created 2 years ago. They wasn't created in Philadelphia, even though they're popular in Philadelphia. They wasn't created in Philadelphia. So ski masks have been around forever. Why they're doing this now, I don't think it has anything to do with uptick in crime. I don't think it has nothing to do with popularity of people using them. It's just that the police are now have another tool in their toolbox to profile and intimidate. Unfortunately, like Nika said, most of the time, Black and brown people are getting profiled and interrogated more so than anybody else, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of, it's a trickle down effect. It starts as, oh, we're trying to, you know, nip this in the bud before it comes an issue. And then it kind of boils down to, we need a reason to interrogate people with immunity.
Mm-hmm. And for me, I think it's even a step further because, again, tinfoil hat on. This just paves the way for governmental agencies to ban more clothing. What is it going to be next? Are they going to start banning burqas? Are they going to start banning yarmulkes? Are they going to start banning, you know, the length of a dress? I mean, of course, that's, you know, pretty far out there. But I say all this to say is it's a very slippery slope to start banning articles of clothing for people and using that as a tactic to be able to gain leverage to question someone that you want to, or to go after something, or to make a situation that is not in any way, shape, or form anything nefarious or traditionally wrong. It's just another way to further go down the slope. And again, in this country, we are seeing every single day where freedoms and protections are being stripped away. And it starts as a small thing. Mm-hmm. It started as, you know, if we take it even further, if we say it's not a direct correlation, but in the respect of, rights and protections being stripped away, it started as states saying, hey, you can't have the abortion pill, to now where Roe v. Wade has now been overturned, to now where this woman was at the risk of dying or losing her fertility completely because the Supreme Court of Texas said, hey, we aren't going to listen to your doctor. You shouldn't, have an abortion, even though the child that you're carrying is already, deceased. We don't care if you die too, because what we care more about is you not getting this specific procedure. Mm-hmm. And I say all of that to say is how simple, I won't say simple, how easy it is for something that seems fairly mundane to turn into something that has repercussions nationwide. And if we start banning small articles of clothing, we're on that trajectory. What's next? What next can be banned because someone says, oh, it's related to crime? There's a crime uptick, and have the thinnest, the veilest, the lightest sort of thread connecting these two and use it as proof as to why it needs to be banned.
Mm-hmm. On a lighter note, I scrolled down to the bottom of this article, and it says related topics, and one of the related topics is 10 best ski resorts. I just thought that was funny as an aside.
And like I told you, the whole ski mask thing is because my nephew was like, I want a Pooh Shiesty mask.
Mm-hmm. They call them Shiesties, according to the store.
I'm like, what the heck is a Pooh Shiesty mask? I don't know what that is. I had to go and Google it, and there it was. And I found him one in Dick's Sporting Good. They had all different colors, patterns. I mean, it's a whole thing. And I'm like, the world. And again, it makes sense. I found it in Dick's Sporting Goods because it's a sporting goods store, and sporting goods store sells ski equipment, but kids are wearing it for a fashion statement. We're in Georgia, and he lives even further south than Atlanta, where it's 10 degrees hotter. He didn't need no ski mask to protect from the weather. It was a fashion accessory. Right. So it's one of those things where it's, what do you got to do, man? Like, seriously.
Yep, just another tool in the toolbox.
The toolbox of injustice. That is going to wrap up for the culture. Let's head on in to the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
All right. So like we mentioned earlier, watchOS 10.2 puts out some dope features. It brings back a feature that I was kind of bummed that it went away in watchOS 9. And basically what it was in watchOS 9 on my watch, I could pretty easily swipe back and forth on the screen to change the watch face. So if I'm at work, I may want a certain type of watch face, but if I go out, I don't need all that information. I just want to be able to see the time. So the ability to quick swipe back and forth was there in watchOS 9. In watchOS 10, when it first released, they took it away, and I actually had to press and hold the screen and then click edit and then change the watch face. Well, in watchOS 10.2 that just released earlier this week, which is my tip for the week, they brought the ability back, but you have to go into the settings to be able to enable that swap to change watch face. So basically what you do is of course you have to have watchOS 10.2. If you do, you open the settings app on your Apple Watch, scroll down and select clock, and then toggle on the swipe to switch watch face feature. Once you toggle that on, then at any time you want to change your watch face, you can quickly swipe. Nobody can see it on the video, so I ain't gonna do it, but take my word for it. Once you turn on the swipe to switch watch face feature, at any time you can quickly swipe on your watch face to change through all the different watch faces you have programmed in your watch. So that's my tech tip of the week. You have to have watchOS 10.2, but you can, in fact, go into the settings and turn on that swipe to switch watch face feature.
Awesome. And for everyone listening, govern yourselves accordingly if that is something that you need to make sure you have enabled on your watch. That is going to wrap up the show for this week. We definitely want to thank you for tuning in. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me as well all over the internet and social media at Tech Savvy Diva. Again, to connect, to comment, to share, to support our show, you can head on over to snoboscast.com to get all of the details. And with that, we will see you next week.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.